Yes. So this week I'm going to be looking at a article I found. It's called "The Relation Between Isometric Neck Strength and White Matter Organization in Collegiate Athletes." It was by Nicole De Souza et al. It was published in 2020 in the Journal of Neurotrauma Reports. So just an overview. So the researchers, they looked at white matter organization levels in different brain regions between collegiate soccer players and non-contact sport athletes in order to assess a potential relationship between neck strength levels and basically how much like white matter was found between populations. So obviously with the collegiate soccer players, they were looking at repeated head impacts because soccer players have the ball a lot. And they're using the control group of non-contact athletes as a baseline comparison. The demographics was 56 collegiate Division III athletes, so it's split down the middle, 28 males, 28 females. They took baseline neck strength tests before the season started to get a baseline. And some exclusion criteria was previous concussion history, if they found weird artifacts during brain imaging, or if the neck strength levels were too far outside normal limits. So like more than I think 3 standard deviations. The goal of the study was to assess neck strength over a span of repeated head impacts in collegiate soccer players. So basically taking neck strength levels isometrically and comparing that to the abundance of white matter in brain areas. So they wanted to see if there was some kind of comparison between the two, or if there's a relationship. So statistical analysis, they found group differences in neck strength and the diffusion tensor imaging, which is a metric of white matter organization. It's how they measure in the brain. The differences between these two were compared with independent t-tests, and they were corrected for multiple comparisons in SPS version 25. So yeah, like I said, the DTI is how they detect the changes in white matter organization. So what they found was pretty interesting. They found that soccer players with stronger necks had more intact white matter, suggesting that neck strength may have a role in reducing the white matter alterations that are associated with repeated head impacts. So basically repeating that in just a different way, stronger neck muscles may be a modifiable risk factor to reduce the risk of brain trauma and associated cognitive effects in athletes with high exposure to repeated head impacts. This is something that's coming up a lot in recent research, that having better neck muscles will allow better counter resistance and reduce the amount of head acceleration that's caused by head impacts, which will help reduce the amount of trauma over time. And so the clinical bottom line here is that neck strengthening may be important for consideration if you're an athletic trainer or a strength conditioning coach, maybe, especially if athletes, they might have had previous head injuries and you want to include an intervention that could potentially help them. Neck strengthening programs are becoming a lot more common, and there's a good reason for it. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that it could help. As far as this study, it was pretty good. There was not too many issues with it as far as I saw. Some limitations of the study are obviously the time. It was only for a season, so it didn't really go that long, and they only took about 20 of each gender. They could have probably done twice as much and it would have been a bit better. But there's a lot more research in this area, so it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out. Thanks for watching.